Today on Redheads TV, we'll be talking about the new announced album of Jay-Z 444 that is on its way and will be released on Tidal on June 30th, 2017. What could this 444 possibly mean, and why now? And is there a connection with the timing of this release? Or is it just coincidence? According to Newsweek.com, they broke down Jay-Z and his connection with the number 4. Starting with Jay-Z's birthday, which is on December 4th. His wife Beyonce's birthday is on September the 4th. Their anniversary is on April the 4th, marking that 4-4 each year. Their daughter, whose name is Blue Ivy, and if you take the first 2 letters of IV, you get IV, which in Roman numerals is the number 4. Me and my team did a breakdown of Jay-Z's name. Now, in order to do this, we used the numerical alphabet to help figure this out. In the numerical alphabet, every letter counts for 1. For example, the letter A would be the number 1. The letter B would be the number 2. Letter C would be number 3, and etc. You get the drift. With the total amount of numbers combined in Jay-Z's name, you end up with the number 62. And seeing that in Jay-Z's name there is a hyphen, if you apply this hyphen in between 6 and 2, you get 6 minus 2, which equals the number 4. Now, your next question probably is and should be, what does all this mean? Hell, I don't know, but Beyonce better be on this album. Let's go back to 2001 and see if we can draw up any conclusions or connections to seeing if this maybe was part of a master plan that Jay-Z had from the beginning. In 2001, on 9/11, Jay-Z released the album The Blueprint 1. Now, the definition of a blueprint is a design plan. The question is, what was the plan? Jay-Z, if you study his music and have been studying his moves, his words, and his works, early on in his career, he made an announcement through his music that he had a plan to connect the street/conscious mentality of music with fame and the highly populated radio music. In this clip, on the song You Don't Know, which is on the Blueprint 1, he states,
I tell you the difference between me and them. They trying to get they ones, I'm trying to get them M's. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4. In just 5 years, 40 million more.
Once again, we see him or hear him using the number 4, calling himself the $40 million boy. Also, we have another clip that gives us some insight into maybe what this plan could be if there was a master plan. He stated,
Means I ain't trying to change you, just give you some game to make the transition from the street to the fame.
obviously, there was conversation, talk, and planning amongst Jay-Z and his fellow artists. He states to Beanie Siegel that he was not trying to change him. He was trying to get him to connect both worlds of being a street conscious rapper and being somebody who attains fame and a global artist, which in that era we did not see too often. You was literally on each side of the fence. You was either a street conscious rapper or you catered more to the party side. You catered more to radio play. Jay-Z, being one of its kind, is clearly amongst the most populous artists, the first artist to connect both worlds of being a street conscious rapper and a global icon, aka a fame rapper. Jay-Z was able to put together a classic album in 2001 with The Blueprint in the midst of an industry where music of partying, dancing, and clubbing was the majority on the scene. So, just how was Jay-Z able to withstand the circumstances of the population wanting to hear more of club and dancing music, but yet he was able to put together a classic album that you can arguably say really only had 2 dance records on there. Though H to the Izzo may not have been a dance record, but it certainly was on the radio and getting spins every other day. Let's look at some of the surrounding acts Jay-Z was surrounded by and still was able to put together a classic album and start his foundation of taking over the game and being considered the God MC. Nelly in the Midwest movement, Little John in crunk music, Snoop and Dre, the West Coast movement, DMX and the Rough Rider movement, Eminem and Ludacris. Those are just a few artists that Jay-Z was making his album in the midst of and still was able to put together a sound classic album and still grab the attention of the youth and the older crowd, crowning him as, arguably some would say, the best rapper alive during that time. The question is, in 2017, will Jay-Z be able to do the same thing, being that he's known to do things with a plan, execute them in the midst of waves of music that he may not be catering to? Me and my team have put together a solid conspiracy based on facts and history that could pertain to some of the insight and predictions that we could expect from this album, 444 by Jay-Z. What is the significance of the number 4? Earlier, we talked about what Newsweek.com was able to produce, showing the connection between the number 4 and things that are going on and went on in Jay-Z's life. Now, we pretty much all can agree that for the last 4 years, we have seen hip hop take a turn and get dominated by a sound which we all know to be called trap. So much to the point that other artists that may not have had this style of trap music feel or felt obligation to turn their music towards this new style of music called trap in order to even stay relevant. But just for how long has this been? 4 years. Let's look back. In biblical times, we see the number 4 related to a pattern of drought and foundation, a necessary number that were given to prophets in order to establish some new form of truth or the development and elevation of man closer to God. Jesus fasted for 40 days. And in that 40 days, he was tested by temptation from Satan, in which he overcame. Which we can draw the conclusion that this 40 days of fasting was absolutely necessary for Jesus' next level of elevation closer to God to happen. Moses fasted for 40 days in preparation to receive revelation from God. In 2013, these were a few statement albums that we could say laid the foundation for something new to come, and a drought that was destined to happen. Let's look at 2013 and look at some albums that came out during that time and see if we can make any connections between laying a foundation. Kendrick Lamar debut album, Good Kid, Mad City. This was the beginning of Kendrick Lamar's introduction on the global scene to the masses of who he was and who he began to be as an artist. Jay-Z, Holy Grail, which was the last time he put out an album 4 years ago. Jay-Z in an interview, along with Timberland's interview, who was the co-producer of that album, stated that Jay-Z was more concerned about making a statement that he could stay relevant, be relevant, and even start a new trend amongst this new era of trap. So the album was more of a statement album, hence laying a foundation. J. Cole, Born Sinner, first studio album. This was J. Cole's introduction, same as Kendrick Lamar, of introducing himself to the world on a global platform, of making a statement of what type of artist he was destined to be. Hence, laying the foundation. Kanye West, Yeezus. Yeezus, we all can agree, was the beginning of this new Kanye West that we hear and we see. Before Yeezus, there was a certain type of Kanye, a certain type of music. Since then, we have seen the beginning of something new that we may not have understood and understand. But we can chalk this up to the theory of 4 years of fasting that is very necessary to usher in a new sound, a new wave, a new stream of consciousness of music that the world so needs. All of these albums I just mentioned in this drought of 4 years that we have been in is responsible, or could be responsible, for producing one of the best albums, most creative albums hip hop has ever seen, in Kendrick Lamar's album, Damn. So, I believe this year will be the mark of the completed fast of conscious movement. So maybe this 4 years of foundation and drought was necessary to begin a new wave and type of conscious music unheard before. Maybe Jay-Z's album 444 is a sign of a new regime of music that is in its early stages of a takeover. And maybe it was necessary for hip-hop to go through this lyrical fasting it appeared to go through in order to produce a new and more effective type of music. With all that being said, the conclusion I'm drawing up is two things. One, I'm hoping this is the new era ushering in. So with all being said, two things we can conclude. This could be the continuation of the start of a new movement of unheard conscious music. And two, Beyonce better be on this album. Thank you for watching and listening to an episode of Redheads TV.